Amazing, good stuff. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Simon Scriver again. I have been your host for today. And as we come to this end section, I want to get on some of those panelists. Let's see who is awake and who we've got. Let's bring them on. Coming in from Australia, I'm hoping it's Paul's cat, but actually I think it's Paul. Hello, Paul. We've got Juan as well, and we've got Gabby joining us. How are you guys? How's everyone doing?
Nice. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, I can imagine. Thanks a million, guys. So we're turning to you as our kind of crystal ball, as our predictors of the future. You guys are the best we've got. You're our experts to tell us what we need to do and what we're going to do. What I want to ask you though is face-to-faces. We have a habit of being overly positive. And sharing our successes and maybe less of our failures. Oh, Elspeth has joined us as well. Hello, Elspeth.
Hi.
But for the people who are watching, some people maybe haven't had the same success as you guys have had. You know, maybe their face-to-face program has just been shut down from the beginning and they don't know how to claw that back. For the people out there and the organizations who are struggling with this, how do we start to succeed? How do we start to make progress? You know, if we've snoozed for the last 6 months and we're only getting into this now, or we're, you know, maybe even, God forbid, launching a face-to-face program for the first time, what do we do differently going forward? How do we tackle this? Paul, have you got any thoughts for the people who are maybe feeling sorry for themselves a bit, or who are not seeing any successes in their face-to-face program right now?
Yeah, I can understand that, Simon, and you know, I think, as I said in the session, we're very privileged, I think, in Australia and New Zealand to have a better situation than a lot of people. I think I picked up a lot from the way that the US has run this, and through cooperation. It's one thing to struggle alone, but if you can connect into networks, if you've got a professional association, if you've got a like a self-regulatory body or something like that, or if you can just build a network, then you have ideas from such a huge range of sources, and cooperation is such a better way to move forward than trying just to work it out on your own. And I know, again, in the States, the example is they've collaborated to help, to keep face-to-face fundraisers employed, to redirect people into other programs, into telephone, into online, into other work. So, I mean, inevitably, you're right. I mean, people are going to be super positive. That's the nature of face-to-face fundraisers. But sometimes you literally cannot go on the streets, and you can't change that reality. But you're much more likely to get solutions if you work together. And I'd say to anyone who's sitting in a market where you don't have some sort of cooperative network or some sort of association for face-to-face fundraising, start building one, because that's your insurance the next time things go wrong. Work together, because one thing we do so brilliantly in this sector is share and cooperate. So, I think that would be the thing I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. Juan, have you anything to add to that? Because I mean, you pop up in a lot of these things. You've got a good network around the face-to-face world. What for the I was going to say the younger people. I'm not insulting you or I, but for maybe the people who are up and coming, who haven't built those networks yet. Where do you start? Where do you find other people? Who do you learn from as a face-to-facer?
I think that from face-to-face, you can find a network, as Paul says, everywhere, because you're on the streets. And everybody that works in face-to-face know that it is a very small world in itself. Everywhere you go, every fundraiser knows the other teams, know the other team leaders, know the other organizations. So as Paul says, if you have that network, you can always have an opportunity to rely on. We're doing one of the toughest sales in the world. We're asking people for money, giving just the feel-good sentiment in return. So we have people that can deliver in any situation. So if you have that network, if you have that possibility to find, I don't know, telemarketing or face-to-face or some venues to fundraise in, peer-to-peer, whatever, face-to-face people can do it. Maybe the other way around wouldn't be possible. Maybe you can't. It's not that easy to send a telemarketer on the street and do face-to-face. but a face-to-face guy can do anything. And it's not the positivity of face-to-face talking. I think it's a reality. Facers can go everywhere and get donors in any situation. So it's just a thing of having that positive attitude and to look forward to do it and be able, not be positive to do it, and you will get it. Of course you will get it.
I like it. My pessimism can never break down these face-to-face's optimism. No matter how hard I try, they always manage to spin. It's so annoying. Gabby, your thoughts, and I'm particularly interested from the point of view of inside a charity, because very often, you know, face-to-face agencies is pro face-to-face, they love it, whereas it's a much more complicated thing inside a charity. You usually have people who understand and believe face-to-face, but then there's often a lot of people in higher up positions who are embarrassed of it, who don't like it, who don't understand it. Speaking from someone who's inside an organization, how is that going to change, and how can we move it along? Because I mean, face-to-face has proved it's resilient and it's still delivering even in a global pandemic where you can't meet people face-to-face. So how do we get these people on board and finally give us the respect and understanding we deserve?
Yeah, I mean, I think it already is starting to change, and I think a part of it is just making sure that we are shouting as much as we can and really doing, you know, what we spoke about before in terms of internal PR. I think I would definitely say we do need to get better at that. You know, we still, in some organizations and in some you know, channels, we're kind of assumed to be this kind of the people that no one really wants to kind of recognize. But actually, I do believe that's changing, and I think when you see how face-to-face fundraisers have really driven the kind of the response following a crisis, I think people have to take a step back and say, this is really incredible. You know, being able to watch how they've adapted and been so versatile and started fundraising with all of this protective equipment on, with a mask, you know, building rapport in ways that we never thought we would have to do. And so I do believe that in itself has already created a real amount of respect. But I do think it's about us really kind of using these spaces as well to kind of share as much as possible. Actually, off the back of the last Congress that we had, a chat that went that we were talking about virtual face-to-face has meant that there's a group that's been set up, and every 6 weeks we talk about you know, virtual face-to-face and how that's going, and sharing stories. And you mentioned failures. We share a lot of the failures too, because there are lots of them, and I think a lot of these times there's a bit of a steep learning curve as we're switching to doing things that we've never done before. So lots of positives, lots of success stories, but I think we're learning from a lot of the mistakes as well, and they're definitely going to be helping us to be stronger in how we deal with these second waves and second lockdowns.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things. I mean, fundraising in general is always quite generous and sharing, you know, within the sector. People are kind of good to each other, but face-to-faces especially, you know, regardless of agency, regardless of charity, people are very open, are very helpful. You know, it is like a small sect of us around the world who get this and understand it. And I found people are always very generous with this stuff if you reach out for help. Elspeth, you, the first lady of face-to-face fundraising, you are one of the most connected people out there. And you're a big believer in kind of the face-to-face community, aren't you? I mean, you think we gain a lot from coming together at events like this, at real world events. Why do you put so much time into this kind of networking? What do you get out of it at this point?
First of all, it always makes me smile when you say that. If I were a shy person, I would actually blush, I think, when you call me that. But yeah, I think it's, like Gabby is saying, I think it's so important that we all share with each other. And that's why I advocate that, like, everywhere on LinkedIn and in events like this. Because if I just talk for the last year, for the last 7 months, it's like we, as the INGO group, like the global face-to-face managers, we still meet like every other week or every week at the moment. And like Gabby is saying as well, like, we share a lot. And first of all, we're face-to-face, so we're always like very positive. But we like to talk as well, so we're good at relationship building. Like, this is what we do, right? This is what we're good at. So whether it's managing up your organization or across like charities, but what has really worked for us all so well, I think, is like that we share the failures as well. As in, like, if you move your team to telemarketing or to virtual fundraising, like, what were the things that we shouldn't do, like what did not work, and instead of all of us making the same mistake, like let's learn from what Safe has done that didn't work, that then Gabby doesn't have to do as well, and then we can move on to what did work. So I think across, it's like, yes, we're all different charities, we're all in the same, space of asking the donors, but at the same time, we also all aim to help for a good cause. So instead of working against each other, I think, and I really believe this, that we achieve more when we all work together. Like when we talk about what are the best techniques in the industry to get the best donor on board that will help all of us. Like if one of us goes rogue, it's affecting all of us. So for us, it's like working together achieves better results for all of us. And I'm a strong believer of that.
Absolutely. And I think like fundraising, it is this science, but it's also this beautiful art. And even if you want to be the best artist in the world, you can still acknowledge and respect and learn from other people's art. That we're in this together. And while we strive to be really good as fundraisers by ourselves, lifting everyone up, it makes us all better. And I think that's the beauty of people in the sector, is they get that and they understand that. I want to bring it back because we're really coming short of time and I'm already in trouble for going over time. I want to ask you all just one last thing, and I'm going to ask people to share in the chat box as well, because I always like to think, we talk big picture, and you guys have spoken really well about, what's going to change in the sector as a whole and what the future looks like. But for an individual watching this and thinking, okay, what action can I take? I'm not going to change Save the Children overnight. I'm not going to change Oxfam overnight. But what can I do during this pandemic, over the next few months? What can I do to benefit the sector as a whole? What's a practical step I can take? So if anyone wants to share their thoughts in the chat box, please do. But Paul, I'm going to start with you. If you were, I mean, you look like you must be about 25, 30 years old. If you were 10 years younger, getting into fundraising or just into face-to-face now, what's a priority for you? How do you invest in yourself, invest in the sector, invest in the development of face-to-face? What's a practical step?
Yeah, as I left school, as you'd be pointing out there, very good. I think the main thing is just live your values. Work with other people that share your values, put your values into action every single day, because that means that you'll be a good fundraiser. And as you say, you may be relatively junior, it might be your first job, so you're not going to be making huge shifts in the organizational structure or dramatic strategies or anything like that. But if you can act with integrity and fundraise with integrity, and be cliche, but be the change you want to see, then I'm a strong believer in that good things will happen, and it's not particularly practical necessarily. The other thing is, I think I said it in the session as well, is just be close to your fundraisers, understand what they're doing, go out with them, and learn what they're doing, stay close to your program.
Love it. Nice one, Paul. Juan, for an individual fundraiser who maybe is junior, or maybe someone who's been in the sector for a few years and is jaded, what would you say they need to be doing differently? What would you recommend?
I would add to what Paul said, because everything he said is perfect. I would add the passion you need to do this job correctly. You need to have a lot of passion. You need to be very strong to receive all the no's on the street, to talk to people with a mask. But if you have your values correct, and if you have the passion to go forward here, you don't need to invent anything new. You will do it in all the ways that can be done, either on face-to-face, either if you're doing telemarketing, you're in a venue, if it rains, you'll get through. If you have those values and the passion to talk to a lot of people with a smile and with the true belief in what you're doing, you'll get the donors and you'll move ahead in this world.
Love it. Good stuff. Gabby, I'm going to ask you the same question, but there's also Ellen is asking in the chat box about the virtual face-to-face gathering you mentioned there. I think a few people want a piece of that. How do we find that? And is that the next logical step for people, or have you got something even better for us?
Yeah, I can definitely jump on the chat in a second and share information about the next one that we've got coming up. It's an open event, an open call for anyone who wants to join, so the more the merrier. In terms of a message for people, because I think that's a really interesting question, and we're talking so much about metrics and data and big picture and resilience and such big heavy topics. And I think if we take it back a step and think about the reason a supporter signs up, they sign up to that person, to that fundraiser. And if we think about the reason a fundraiser stays past their first awful day where they don't get any signups and they want to cry and they've been told to get 50 no's or whatever it is. I remember mine so clearly. And I think they think that's what we've got to take it back to, is just that the impact that we have on that first fundraisers day when they want to cry, or when someone is at the end of their first week, or the impact that we have as face-to-face fundraisers with the public, as team leaders with our fundraisers. Like that's the real reason. This is a people channel. It's about how we interact with each other, and that sense of team, I think, is really critical right now, because that's what we're all kind of wanting to go back to a little bit as well. Is when we wonder why members of the public are walking up to fundraisers, it's because we miss that human interaction. And I think that's something that we will never replace in any other channel. Digital can't do that. That kind of sense of connection between one person and the cause that they're signing up to. So I think if we can keep that as the real essence moving forwards, then we're going to keep the kind of key to face.
I love that. And I think there's been a theme today about this fundraiser journey, as opposed to the donor journey, like the journey that we are all on as fundraisers. And I very clearly remember my first day on the street, and I signed up 2 people, but I very clearly remember having a long period of terrible time, doubting myself. And my team leader, Craig, I still can picture him. I could still know his name, and coming up to me and what he said to me, how he treated me. It shaped my career. You could have quit in that first day and gone off and sold insurance or something, but it's us that has the power to communicate and not only influence donors and the world around us, but influence fundraisers that we're crossing paths with every day. And that's why I love events like this. Love it, Gabby. Gabby, how was your first day on the street fundraising? Was it terrible or was it all right?
It wasn't good. I was not good at all.
And look at you now. One of the most famous people in the sector. It's fantastic. Elspeth, the results are coming in, and I'm pleased to announce you've got a second term as the First Lady of Face-to-Face Fundraising. You've just been pushed over the edge, so well done.
That is so good. It only took 48 hours or something. So
I know. I've been awake for 2 days. So your parting words. We're going to give the last word to you. What's the change you want to see in each of us? What do we do as individuals now after this to contribute to the sector?
I would actually say, for the fundraisers, especially the newbies out there, be yourself, believe in yourself, as in you are doing such a great job. Like I always tell my fundraisers, there's not many people that actually can go home to their partner or their family or whatever and tell them, I actually saved a child today. I mean, what more wonderful can you do in the world, right? This is amazing. But I think it's up to us as the people who train them, who recruit them, who support them to make them a good fundraiser. So like you said as well, Simon, it's up to us to make that first day not as miserable as some of them can be, to empower them and say, okay, so you saved a child. That is the best thing you can do. And even if you just spoke to 10 people, you still created awareness. But it's up to us internally as well to look at the data, what is the donor value that we're bringing in, how we're training our fundraisers, how we're motivating them, how are they speaking to the public, what's the donor experience, how can we improve that on them. So I would say to the fundraisers, the newer ones, just go out there, be yourself and have fun. To the people managing them, I would say it's our job to turn them into good fundraisers. And I think that's where the change needs to be. And I think from a donor center perspective, use your data, but look at the all-round picture, and then also include your senior management, because they need to understand the power of this channel. And sometimes they do, but they don't understand the workings of the channel. And I think it's up to us to educate them to give us better support as well, as in have realistic expectations of us. So my parting words are for new fundraisers, just go out there, be yourself, do the role and enjoy yourself. And then it's me for president next, right?
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. In 4 more years, you're going to be promoted, I'm sure.
Exactly.
All right, guys, that's amazing. Unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there because we are running out of time. Thank you for tuning in from Australia, from Spain, from, I don't know where everyone else is, UK. You're everywhere. I don't know, whatever. Go back to it. So lovely to see you all. Thank you very much. Take care. Stay safe. Look after yourself.
See you later, Simon.
Bye.
Bye.